Welcome, children. Today we are going to start chapter 2 of Honeycomb, A Gift of Chappals by a great Tamil writer, Vasant Surya. Let's read the chapter. Smiling Rukumani threw open the door. Ravi and Meena rushed out, and Ravi pulled Mridu into the house. Wait, let me take off my slippers, protested Mridu. She set them out neatly near a pair of large black ones. Those were grey, actually with dust. You could see the clear mark of every toe on the front part of each slipper. The marks for the two big toes were long and scrawny. Mridu didn't have much time to wonder about whose slippers they were, because Ravi dragged her to the backyard, behind a thick bitterberry bush. There, inside a torn football lined with sacking and filled with sand, lay a very small kitten, lapping up milk from a coconut half shell. Mridu, with her grandmother Tapi, visited her aunt Rukumani to meet her cousins Ravi, Lali, and Meena. She left her slippers at the gate with a pair of slippers which was old and weary. Ravi then took her to the backyard. Behind a thick bitterberry bush, there was a kitten sitting in a torn football, and the kitten was sipping milk from a coconut shell. Let's continue reading. We found him outside the gate this morning. He was mewing and mewing, poor thing, said Meena. It's a secret. Amma says Pati will leave for our Padu Mama's house if she knows we have a cat. People are always telling us to be kind to animals, but when we are, they scream. Oh, don't bring that dirty creature here, said Ravi. Do you know how hard it is just to get a little milk from the kitchen? Pati saw me with a glass in my hand just now. I told her I am very hungry. I want to drink it. But the way she looked at me, I had to drink most of it to throw her off the scent. Then she wanted the tumbler back. Pati, I will wash it myself. Why should I put you to trouble? I told her. I had to run and pour the milk into this coconut shell, and then run back and wash the tumbler and put it back before she got really suspicious. Now we have to think of some other way to feed Mahendran. Now, what is in these paras? They had found the kitten outside their house in the morning of that day, but they must keep it as a secret. Otherwise, the grandmother will leave their house immediately. The grandmother was doubtful while Ravi was taking out milk from the kitten from kitchen. He had to drink more than half of the milk to make her believe that it was for him, means Ravi. He also told Mridu that they had named the kitten as Mahendran. Let's continue reading. Mahendran? This little kitty's name is Mahendran? Mridu was impressed. It was a real name, not just a cute kitty cat name. Actually, his full name is Mahendra Verma Pallav Punai, MP Punai for short if you like. He is a fine breed of cat. Just look at his fur, like a lion's mane. And you know what the emblem of the ancient Pallava kings was, don't you? He looked expectantly at Mridu. Mridu giggled. Think I am joking? Well, just wait. I will show you sometime. It's clear you don't know a thing about history. Haven't been to Mahabalipuram, have you? He said mysteriously. Well, when our class went to Mahabalipuram, I saw a statue of his, Tathas, etc., etc. Fact is, Mahendran here is descended from that very same ancient cat, a close relative, scientifically speaking, of none other than the lion, the Pallava lion, emblem of the Pallava dynasty. Ravi went on, walking around the bitter berry bush, waving a twig up and down, his eyes sparkling. This cat is a descendant of none other than the Mahabalipuram Rishi cat. And if I may just remind you, they worshipped cats in ancient Egypt. Now let's come to explanation. Mridu loved the name Mahendran because it sounded real to her. Ravi further added that its complete name was Mahendrapuram Pallav Punnai, and MP Punai it is called in short. Ravi also told a story about the name of the kitten and its belongingness to the descendant of Mahabalipuram. He told that the kitten's fur showed that it was a fine breed cat, a close relative of lion family, like the one that Pallava kings used in their emblem. He proudly announced that his small kitten was the descendant of Mahabalipuram Rishi cat, and he also kept on adding that cats are worshipped in ancient Egypt. Now let's continue reading. How he loved the sound of his own voice. Meena and Mridu exchanged looks. What does that have to do with anything? Mridu demanded. Oh, I am telling you, this cat is descended from the Egyptian cat god. No goddess, Destet. Yeah, that's it. So, well, one of the descendants of that cat goddess was a stowaway in one of the Pallava ships, and his descendant was the Mahabalipuram Rishi cat, whose descendant is Ravi, flourished his twig at Mahendra. MP Punai here. Oh, eek, he shrieked, very pleased with himself. Mahendran looked up, alarmed. He had just been sharpening his claws on the edge of the coconut shell. But worse than Ravi's awful oop eek was a screech from the window. What a weird sound. If Mridu was startled, MP Punai was frightened out of its wits. Hair standing on end, he pounced up, scurried towards a bamboo tray of red chilies that had been set out to dry. Trying to hide beneath it, he tipped a few chilies over himself. Meow, he howled miserably. The screeching went on and on. What's that noise? Said Mrit. That's Lali, learning to play the violin, grunted Ravi. She will never learn a thing. The music master just goes on playing like a train whizzing on and on, while Lali is all the time derailing, going completely off track. Now let's start the explanation. While Ravi was busy making all proud announcements about his kitten, the cat was busy in sharpening his claws on the edge of the coconut shell. Suddenly a weird sound, screech, came from the window. The poor little cat jumped with fear on a tray of red chilies kept under the sun for drying. Later, Ravi informed her that the sound was coming from Lali, who was learning to play the violin. Mridu peeped means looked out from the window and saw Lali was holding the violin in an awkward position, means uncommon position, sitting a bit away from her music teacher, who had his back towards the window. Let's continue reading. Mridu crept up to the window. Lali was sitting a little distance away, awkwardly holding her violin and bowstring, her elbow just jutting out and her eyes glazed with concentration. In front of her, with most of his back to the window, was the bony figure of the music master. He had a mostly bald head with a fringe of oiled black hair falling around his ears and an old fashioned tuft. A gold chain gleamed around his leathery neck, and a diamond ring glittered on his hand as it glided up and down the stem of the violin. A large foot stuck out from beneath his gold bordered vishti edge. Vishti means here dhoti. And he was beating time on the floor with the scrawny big toe. He played a few notes. Lali stumbled behind him on her violin, which looked quite helpless and unhappy in her hands. What a difference! The music master's notes seemed to float up and settle perfectly into the invisible tracks of the melody. It was like the wheels of a train fitting smoothly into the rails and whizzing along, as Ravi said. Mridu stared at that huge bee-ringed hand moving effortlessly up the violin stem, making lovely music. Squawk! There was Lali derailing again. Amma! Came a wail from the gate. Amma! Oh! Ravi, sent that beggar away, cried his mother from the back veranda, where she was chatting with Tapi. He has been coming here every day for the past week, and it's time he found another house to beg from, Pati explained to Tapi. In these paras, Lali was learning to play violin from her music master, who was bald headed and with an old fashioned tuft. He was wearing a gold chain and a diamond ring. Lali tried to learn music notes, but her tracks were annoying, not satisfied. Whereas melodious tunes came out of master's expert hands. Mridu and Meena followed Ravi out. The beggar was already in the garden, making himself quite at home. He had spread his upper cloth under the neem tree and was leaning against his trunk, apparently prepared to take a little snooze while he waited for the elms to appear. Go away, said Ravi sternly. My Pati says it's time you found another house to beg from. The beggar opened his eyes very wide and gazed at each of the children one by one. The ladies of this house, he said, at last in a voice choked with feeling, are very kind souls. I have kept my body and soul together on their generosity for a whole week. I can't believe that they would turn me away. He raised his voice. Amma, Amma, oh, said his wail might, but it certainly wasn't feeble. It began in a deep, strong rumble somewhere in his withered belly and came booming out of his mouth, with its few remaining teeth stained brown with betel chewing. Ravi, tell him there is nothing left in the kitchen. Call Rukumani. And his note to come again. Tell him that. She sounded fed up. Ravi didn't have to repeat it all to the beggar. What his mother said had been easy for them all to hear. There under the neem tree, the beggar sat up and sighed. I will go, he said wearily. Only let me have a rest here under this tree. The sun is so hot. The tar has melted on the road. My feet are already blistered. He stretched out his feet to show large pink peeling blisters on the soles of his bare feet. I suppose he doesn't have the money to buy chappals. Mridu whispered to Meena Ravi. Have you got an old pair in the house somewhere? I don't know, said Ravi. Mine are too small to fit his feet, or I would have given them to him, and his feet were larger than Mridu's and Meena's. The beggar was shaking out his upper cloth and tightening his dhoti. He raised his eyes and looked fearfully at the road, gleaming in the afternoon heat. He needs something on his feet, Meena said, her big eyes filling. It's not fair. Shoo, said Ravi. I am thinking about it. Blubbering. It's not fair, isn't going to help. In 2 minutes, he will be frying his feet on that road. What he needs is a pair of chappals. So, where do we get them? Come, let's search the house. He pushed Mridu and Meena into the house. Just as he stepped into the veranda, Mridu's eyes fell on the odd looking chappals she had noticed when she arrived. Ravi, she whispered to him, whose are those? Ravi turned and glanced at the shabby looking but sturdy old chappal slippers. He beamed and nodded. These are just the right size, he said, picking them up. Mridu and Meena followed him nervously back into the garden. Here, and said Ravi to the beggar, dropping the slippers in front of the old man. Wear these and don't come back. The beggar stared at the slippers, hurriedly flung his towel over his shoulder, pushed his feet into them and left, muttering a blessing to the children. In a minute, he had vanished around the corner of the street. Let's continue the explanation part. Now, when children were having fun, when Rukumani called Ravi to send the beggar away, actually she was fed up with the beggar coming to their place for a week now and told Ravi that there wasn't anything left in the kitchen, and she asked the beggar not to come again. The beggar told them that he would leave after taking rest for a while, as it was too hot outside and there were also blisters in his feet. When the children saw blisters in his feet, they felt pity and they started making plans to give him chappals. Mridu remembered seeing a pair of old grey chappals while she had entered Ravi's house. She asked Ravi whom they belonged to, means whose chappals those were. Ravi took the chappals and gave it to the beggar and asked him not to come again. The beggar went away wearing the chappals and blessed the children. Let's continue with the reading part. The music master came out of the house and took an unappreciative look at the three of them sitting quietly under the tree playing marbles. Then he searched for his chappals in the veranda where he had put them. Lali, he called after a few moments. She hurried up to him. Have you seen my chappals, my dear? I remember having kept them here. Ravi, Mridu and Meena silently watched Lali and the music master search every corner of the veranda. He scurried around, looking over the railing and crouching near the flower pots to look between them. Brand new they were. I went all the way to Mount Road to buy them. He went on saying, they cost a whole month's fees. Do you know? Soon Lali went in to tell her mother. Rukumani appeared, looking harassed, with Pati following her. Where could they be? It's really quite upsetting to think someone might have stolen them. So many vendors come to the door, worried Pati. Rukumani caught sight of Ravi, Mridu and Meena sitting under the tree. Have you children? She began, and then seeing they were curiously quiet, went on more slowly. Seen anyone lurking around the veranda? A sharp V-shaped line had formed between her eyebrows. Another straight, tighter one appeared in place of her usually soft, pleasant mouth. Rukumani was angry, thought Mridu with a shiver. She wouldn't be so upset if she knew about the poor beggar with sores on his feet, she tried to tell herself. Taking a deep breath, she cried, Rukumani, there was a beggar here. Poor thing, he had such boils on his feet. So, said Rukumani grimly, turning to Ravi, you gave the music master chappals to that old beggar who turns up here. Children these days, groaned Pati. Amma, didn't you tell me about Karna who gave away everything he had, even his gold earrings? He was so kind and generous. Silly, snapped Rukumani. Karna did not give away other people's things, he only gave away his own. But my chappals wouldn't have fitted the beggar's feet. Ravi rushed brashly on. And Amma, if they did fit, would you really not have minded? Ravi, said Rukumani, very angry now. Go inside this minute. She hurried indoors and brought out Gopu Mama's hardly worn new chappals. These should fit you, sir. Please put these on. I'm so sorry. My son has been very naughty. The music master's eyes lit up. He put them on, trying not to look too happy, Well, I suppose this will have to do. These days children have no respect for elders. What to do? A Hanuman incarnate. Only Rama can save such a naughty fellow. Rukumani's eyes flashed. She didn't seem to like Ravi being called a monkey, even a holy monkey. She stood stiff and straight by the front door. It was clear she wanted him to leave quickly. Now, what is in these paras? Actually, those chappals belong to the music teacher. When it was the time for him to leave, he kept looking for his chappals, and he asked Lali to help him in searching for the chappals. Rukumani also inquired from children if any one of them have seen the chappals. She was really angry that the chappals were given to the beggar. Ravi tried to cool her down by giving the example of Karn, who gave away all his precious belongings to the needies. But Rukumani rebuked him, scolded him by saying that the chappals did not belong to him. Then Ravi said that his own chappals were so small to fit into the beggar's feet, whereas the music teacher chappals fit him perfectly. Rukumani went inside and brought Gopu Mama's new chappals and gave them to the music teacher. The teacher was very happy getting the new chappals, but still he was showing as though it was tough for him to accept them. Let's continue the reading. When he had clattered off in his new chappals, she said, Mridu, come in and have some tiffin. Honestly, how do you children think of such things? Thank God your Gopu Mama doesn't wear his chappals to work. As she walked towards the kitchen with Mridu and Meena, she suddenly began to laugh. But he is always in such a hurry to throw off his shoes and socks and get into his chappals as soon as he comes home. What is your mama going to say this evening when I tell him I gave his chappals to the music master? Now let's see what is in the last para. After the teacher had left, she called the children home and offered them some snacks. She thanked God that Gopu Mama did not go to office in chappals, but he would need them after coming home immediately. However, she thought she would take the blame on herself. So children, you have seen that this story is about the mischievous and simplicity of children's behavior. How their kind hearts melt on seeing the condition of beggar, and they decide to donate him slippers without hesitation. Children, I hope you have understood the story. See the video again to understand it better. Thank you.